So today I am speaking with one of our gold sponsors at Identity Week America, coming up in Washington, DC. I'm joined by John Peters, who's head of new business for OVD Kinegram. It's really great to speak to you today, John. You've got longevity in this industry. You set up the business 35 years ago. Producing, supplying and designing optical security features for documents such as passports, ID cards, visas, driving licenses and banknotes. But as ever, we've got, the problems that we face from fraudsters, and you're having to combat these threats all the time with advancing trends in the fraud space. So it's really good to sit down with you today and discuss your solutions and how they've advanced over that time frame. Could you just give us an overview of the main business and that timeline from when you first started, the reason for setting up Kinegram, to kind of the problem and the solution that you have today?
Yes, absolutely. Sure, Evie, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about this very important topic. OVD Kinegram, as part of the Kurtz Group, has its core business in the design and the development and the supply of optical security features, specifically the Kinegram for the protection of the government documents against counterfeiting. The Kinegram is a proprietary technology which makes use of secret processes as well as non-holographic techniques, which are not in the public domain and hence out of reach of the counterfeiters.
And what is your perspective on the recent trends in document fraud? I mentioned briefly at the beginning, we're seeing a surge of deep fakes, sophisticated techniques by these fraudsters to basically produce identical documents to the real thing. How do you see that trend landscape?
Yes, basically, no doubt, document fraud is on the increase and has become a major threat, not only to governments, but to each and every individual person. The threat goes beyond terrorism and illegal migration and drug or human trafficking. In recent years, we've seen a rapid rise in identity theft, where people's individual identities have been stolen to open up bank accounts and even to sell their people's houses. So concerning the types of threats that we've seen, I mean, based on our discussions with document examiners and forensic experts around the world, we understand that they are seeing both complete document counterfeits. In other words, a document is recreated from scratch and completely copied, as well as manipulations of existing documents such as passports or visas by substituting the photograph or by making modifications to the biographic data. And coupled with this is a lot of digital technology as well, such as photographic morphing, so that the substituted image could actually also very closely match not only the person, the counterfeiter, but also the digital image in the chip stored in the passport, for example.
And what are the major challenges facing document examiners? Because you've got technology which detects, these things. You've also got still the presence of physical examiners, especially in travel, having to spot the signs of a counterfeited document. What are the challenges that they're facing? And is it a case that they need more training? They need more resources? Are we heading towards, technology being used at the border to really identify these documents? Give us an indication of the challenges.
Yes, very good question. Document examiners are facing increasing number of challenges on the front line. We've seen an increasing number of different documents coming out. Even any particular one country may have one or two or three different versions of their passport at any one particular time, which may still be valid. And on top of this, especially in recent times, the complexity of the document designs, and rightly so because of the increased counterfeit resistance that comes along with this, but this complexity makes it even more difficult and almost impossible for frontline document examiners to reliably detect counterfeits very quickly. And of course, adding to this fact, they have less and less time available to make a decision due to the increased volumes of travelers.
That's a fascinating insight. What is OVD doing then to address these challenges that you've mentioned there and mitigate the growing threats of documents fraud? What's your ongoing strategy that you hope to bring to the Identity Week audience?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned already training. Of course, we can support the frontline examiners with training, but we've realized that there's limited benefit. We'd still do it, of course, it's still very important, but there is limited benefit. And we have recognized in recent years that the way forward to address these challenges that are facing the document examiners, as well as to mitigate the growing threats of document fraud, we need to evolve our approach in the way we design the kinegram to protect the photograph and the biographic data on the data page. So in recent years, we've introduced a new technology which we call the Kinegram FDP, which stands for Full Data Protection. Instead of having the kinegram as a single patch embedded in the polycarbonate and partially overlapping with the photograph, as we classically do, we now introduce the kinegram as discrete individual elements which are distributed across the data page, overlapping with key data without obstructing their view, in such a manner that the kinegram design integrates with other security features, such as the security print and the surface embossing, so that the combination of all these features together tell a story which is easy to recognize, easy to remember, but very difficult for the counterfeiters to copy. And to demonstrate this, this image, this video image that we show right here, we see, for example, on this passport data page, the bees, which are known to do a waggle dance when they arrive back in the beehive, and that's represented by these two bees, on the metallized bees on the top right of this image. Now by the printed data in the background. And the source of food, which is here demonstrated with another kinegram element, the transparent flowers. This is realized using special features such as what we call the surface relief, overlapping with the photograph. And after collecting the nectar from the flowers, the bees then return to the hive, and the returning bees in this particular example are created using a combination of these embedded kinegram elements once again, and the surface embossing, yet another third security feature. And so the integration of all these three different features make it extremely difficult to counterfeit, but it makes it very easy for the document examiners to recognize, to remember, because it's a little story that it tells. And of course, it's very difficult for counterfeiters to try to mimic this type of design. And so what we show here is actually what we showed at previous events, Identity Week events, and what we'll be showing at the forthcoming Identity Week in Washington. We will demonstrate a further development in this direction using the Kinegram FDP to create these integrated designs which tell stories which are both secure and very intuitive for the document examiners to verify.
It sounds like you've got a really intricate design that you're just evolving all the time. It's really great to speak to you on that. I think you're coming into the show with an update and upgrade for our audience. It's going to be really great to see that on the show floor. Thank you so much for your time today. Yeah, I've been speaking to John Peters from Kinegram. He's a gold sponsor at the upcoming Identity Week conference in Washington, DC on the 11th and 12th of September. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Evie.